Hi everyone and welcome to this video. This video is just going to be a very short introduction into how you can track visitors on your website and why it's important. It's designed for people who are really just starting out and have just got your first website and you sort of don't understand about tracking and why it might be important and what tools are available to you. So in this video, I'm going to talk briefly about Google Analytics, which is the most popular way of tracking visitors. Basically because it's very, very powerful and it's also free. All you need is a Google account and you can add Google Analytics to any of your websites. Adding it is very simple. I'm not going to cover it in this video because there's a lot of tutorials out there. And also I'm not going to go into the sort of the in-depth usage of it. I'm just going to show you what sort of information you can get and why it's useful. So Google Analytics, I've logged into an account here, and this is a real life website that I sort of help run. So this is going to be some real data, and hopefully you'll see why it's useful. So basically with Google Analytics, you add a bit of just your Google Analytics ID to most websites. If you're using website builder software of any description, usually it's just entering that ID. It's really easy to set up. I think that's the important thing to note. Now, the reason it's useful is because, like I say, for free, you can get some really useful information, even if you only use 5% of what Google Analytics has to offer. So at the moment, I'm just in the dashboard, nothing too interesting in there. But what we can do is really start drilling down into our website. So if we look at audience and just look at overview, like I say, this is not going to be a long video. I'm not going to go into in-depth. But what we can see here is how many visitors I had on my website between a certain period. Very, very useful as a website owner because you might find that you're busier during certain times. You might find that certain events you run generate more traffic. So being able to track all of that sort of information, very, very useful for you. So that's, like I say, that's what you can see there. And there's a lot more sort of in-depth information so you can see new users, so you can see how many people are returning visitors and things like that. It's never going to be 100% accurate because some people will choose not to be tracked and things like that. But like I say, it's usually a very good indicator. So other useful information you can have from this sort of software is acquisition. So if we have a look at overview, and this is going to tell you where your visitors are coming from. So we can see on this website here, during this time period of the 1st of November to the 12th of January, most of these visits I had came from organic search. Now that would be someone typing in some keywords to Google and then clicking through to the website from the search results. Very useful for me to have a high proportion of that because it means my website is well optimized for search engines. Next up, we can have a look at behavior and we can go to overview. And like I said, I'm not going into in-depth for a lot of these. It's just a brief overview of why you should be tracking these things. So behavior, this is another very, very useful tool for understanding how your visitors behave when they're on your website. So we can see here all my pages on my website. And we can see that slash there just means it's the root. So that's just when they visit the main website, which is markcollier.co.uk. So that's the main homepage of that website. So I get 190 page views on that. And then as you generally expect, as you start going through the pages, you can see that there's not so many views. Now, what's really useful information in here is we've got things like bounce rate. Now, bounce rate would be when someone lands on a page and then doesn't do anything else before closing that session. So they're looking at that page and then closing it before browsing to any other pages. It's not always a bad thing for someone to bounce, but typically if your homepage has a very high bounce rate, you might need to look at how your information is presented. Maybe you've got the information in the wrong place. And basically you're not grabbing people's attention before they do what you want them to do, which could be looking at a menu or looking at some other information on your website. So that's useful for knowing because you can make tweaks to your website and then see whether your bounce rate changes, for example. Another little useful thing in here, sort of on the same sort of lines, is looking at behavior flow. So if we look at behavior flow here, we can see people landing on the homepage there would be going through to these pages here. So we can see how they flow through the website. So we can start to see typical behavior. So we can see here they land on the homepage, then they go into subjects and prices, going back to the homepage again, and then they'll start looking through some other pages. But like I say, All this information is extremely useful to you because it means you can make changes to your website and then see how behaviors change, which means you can see whether those changes are useful or not. So it just allows you to experiment and allows you to sort of make changes to maybe your search engine optimization if you're finding you're not really getting in any organic searches. But yeah, I'm not going to go into more detail than that. This is just an introductory video to show you the sorts of information you can get. Like I say, Google Analytics extremely powerful. I could probably talk for hours about the things you could do about it, but that's not the idea of this video. I will link to Google Analytics in the description below, but like I say, there are lots of tutorials on how to use it, how to get started, and I would really recommend doing some further research. But that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Goodbye for now.